This is the John Meccico Show on Talk Radio 1680 KGED. Now, here is John Meccico.
All right, guys, welcome to Talk Radio 1680 KGED. And I never have CNN on, but they have this climate debate thing going on. It's not even a debate. I thought it was supposed to be a debate. They changed it to a town hall because they probably couldn't get anybody, or probably didn't want anybody to debate them on this because of the nonsense that's spewed out there. And I'm going to get heavy into this to start things off. I'm hoping to get into more of that gun stuff that we were talking about yesterday. We had a big response on that. Hong Kong, those kids made a little difference, but they want more. Maybe get into that. I want to talk about the Obama's faith advisor coming down on the Democrats. I thought that was pretty interesting. The problem with this show sometimes is that we get caught into one subject and we delve into so much that I never even get into the other subject. So for that, if that occurs, I apologize. I have intentions of getting to it all, but sometimes it's just not meant to be. All right, so CNN has Amy Klobuchar. I can't even say her name right. She's probably not going to be relevant in this, but she is on the stage, the stage next Thursday. So I believe she is. So anyway, she's up there talking. If there's something interesting, maybe we'll tune into it, but I doubt we will. We'll see. Guillermo's got the good show coming on next because he's got Biden. I think he's got Bernie Sanders. And his 2 hours is filled in already just with their jokes. So I'm a little jealous. Guillermo, we have to have a talk. Maybe we have to switch time frames on occasion. All right, but let's get into this. So CNN dedicating 7 long hours to this Democratic presidential hopeful talk on climate change. I thought it was supposed to be a debate. I initially heard debate, but I guess that's not the case. And as I said earlier, I don't think they wanted that. But I thought I read that. Anyways, I don't believe it's set up that way. Each candidate's basically talking for about 40 minutes at a time. Whatever. All right. What do we got here? I don't read that anyone is going to be on the other side of this argument, so they're not going to have a person that's actually talking about the other side of this whole climate change. And if I'm right about this, then that's a shame for CNN. They're doing everybody a disservice. And this is what I really want to get into. They are pushing an agenda. They are pushing an agenda, and it's full of crap, all right? They're giving their audience 7 hours of this, shoving it down our throats, making us think that the only solution to climate change is their solution. And that is an outright shame. Shame on CNN for doing that, all right? Shame on CNN to their viewers. However little viewers they have. They come in, I think Nickelodeon beat them. Nickelodeon. That's right. Nickelodeon beat them. So whatever little viewers they have, shame on them for putting their few viewers into this, all right? Thank God you don't have to listen to this at the airport. Usually they have the volume down because you guys know that CNN pays for that. That's not the airport's choice. That's CNN paying for you to see them at the airport. All right, I'm going to tell you what this is about. This is about you buying into this climate change and this Green New Deal and then convincing you that all we have to do is we have to rally behind this. But of course, that means raising your taxes 70%, maybe more. Look, I'm reading this here. Is the $16 trillion price tag of Sanders' climate change too much? I guess Amy Klobuchar is talking about it. $16 trillion. $16 trillion. Is it too much? Yeah, it's too much. It absolutely is too much. But they want us to rally around this, but then they're going to raise those taxes. Because listen, we have to raise your taxes if we're going to save the world. And you have to depend on the government. Got to depend on us for all your needs because we're the only ones that can fix this. Man, are they wrong about this. But if you were to buy into this, you know what you have? Voila. You have socialism. That's what you have. This is about socialism. And this is their venue. This is their avenue. This is their way of getting you to eventually buy into it without even knowing that you're doing it. Socialism needs an enemy to succeed. They need an enemy for people to rally around for the common purpose of man, not each individual man, for the common purpose of man. And you got to fight the cause. It can be an individual that you're going to fight against, or it can be a cause like climate change. And that's one of the agendas that they're pushing. They have many agendas. They attack you from all different angles, but this is a big one for them. This is very big. and they will do everything that they can, and I mean everything that they can, to take your freedom. What you experience now, they're going to take it away from you. This is not about the Green New Deal. This is not about climate change. This is about socialism. They don't want you to believe that good old American ingenuity can solve this. No. It's good old American ingenuity that solved everything else. But no, not this. We're going to let the government handle this. What an idiotic thing to do. We, the government, are the only ones that can do this for you. That's what they're trying to sell you on. And we're going to raise American taxes so high, that that's what's going to save the planet. What has the government ever touched? I mean, honestly, what have they ever touched that's worked out well? Very, very few things. Very few things. Government getting involved in this when American ingenuity businessmen can solve this? Big mistake. Tell me this. What gives the United States government any credibility in solving this? The United Nations? Because that's what they hide behind. This whole IPCC, the Intergovernmental Plan on Climate Change, that's what they hide behind here. When has the UN when have they ever liked the United States of America? When have they ever actually supported the United States of America? They hate us. They absolutely hate us. The only people they hate more is Israel. But let's think about this a second. Why would they hate Israel, and why do they hate us? I'm going to give you a few seconds. Think that one through. The answer is we're successful. We're successful, and that's why they hate us. Both countries are successful. Instead of other countries, instead of the UN encouraging other countries to rise to higher levels, the UN pushes this IPCC, this Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, to eventually get us to embrace socialism so we could sink to their level. That's what they want. They don't want to see us succeed. They don't like American ingenuity. They don't like the fact that we're powerful enough to fight back. And they don't like the fact that we support Israel. Is anybody seeing this? Is anybody seeing this? I cannot be the only one here seeing this. This is a downright, I can't even use the word, but this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible that we have leaders out there trying to shove this down our throats. The UN, this IPCC, this is all about embracing socialism and getting us to buy it, but not letting us see it for what it is. Let's push the whole climate change agenda. Is there warming? Is there global warming? Yeah, maybe there is. To the degree that they're saying, oh, hell no. Stop it. Stop it. We're gonna maybe throw out some facts a little later if I find that I want to, because I'm so fired up about this. But let me ask you guys, is this what you guys want? Do you want to really see this happen? Do you want to see 70, 80, 90% taxes to fight something that American ingenuity can fight on its own? No. No, you don't. I know I don't. And I know my listeners, I have an intelligent audience here. They don't want that. They absolutely don't want that. Let the left buy into it. But we don't need to buy into it. And we have logic behind us to convince those that this is absolutely nonsense. We are forgetting who we are. We are forgetting about those before us who fought for us to keep the freedoms that we have. Socialism does not belong in this country. If socialism belonged in this country, wouldn't other people in other countries who are dying to get in here, wouldn't they just be happy with what they have? Because that's what they're doing. They're trying to get away from it. They're all trying to come here. And what are we doing? We're trying to embrace what they have? Nobody's going to have anywhere to run? What is it? What is going on? Can't let this happen. And for CNN, 7 hours of this nonsense. And that's what it is. It's nonsense. I'm sorry. This is terrible. Socialism. We'll get into more of this. I don't know if I should keep this thing on. I guess I am going to keep it on for Guillermo because Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are going to be talking during this hour. But man, this is just brutal. All right, guys, you're listening to Talk Radio 1680 KGED. Our phone numbers are 559 442-1680. If any of you have anything to chime in on, let me hear it. We'll be back after the break. Hey, Facebook, how's it going? Elaine, I know I'm giving you overload. I'm sorry. Michigan Mike in the house. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you dropping in. Climate change, too funny. I like the way he said it. Denise, hi, baby. Replying to Michael. Oh, sorry. All right, Mike, you and Denise can have that talk. Elaine, drop ice cubes in the water to stop hurricanes. Great. All right. 43 trillion for Medicare. That's all. Really. Pete, do you delete your government? I'd love to. All right, guys. Thank you so much for the Yasmin. Hello. Hey, Yasmin. How are you? Thanks for the Elaine. What do you got? I want OC to figure out what recycling is and the garbage disposal. Elaine, you're on top of your game today. You definitely are. I like it. All right, guys. Thanks for the comments. I'll be with you shortly.
John Meccico Show on the Valley's new talk leader, Talk Radio 1680 KGED.
All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to Talk Radio 1680 KGED and the home of Jairus Jackson at 2 p.m. Funniest political guy I know. And Bill O'Reilly at 3:45 and Guillermo Moreno coming up at 5 o'clock. And he's going to have some great stuff. Talked to him earlier today. And he's going to have a good show. All right. So we're talking about this whole climate change bit. We're talking about that CNN is shoving 7 hours of this climate change town hall down our throat. And basically, it's just a way for you to buy into socialism without even them calling it socialism. Well, did AOC's person, whoever that was, said that the Green New Deal had nothing to do with climate change? He actually admitted that. I don't have the papers in front of me. I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but I know it has something to do with that. I mean, he even said that. This is about socialism. They just don't want to say the word socialism. It's about the Green New Deal and you supporting it. And therefore, we got to tax you really hard because, we got to save the planet. I've got some facts here before me that I thought would be kind of interesting. So why did Donald Trump, why did he get out of this Paris climate agenda, this Paris climate agreement? The reason is because it wasn't doable. All right, the agreement called for the United States to cut emissions by 28% from our 2005 level. A 28% decrease in emissions by 2025 would have destroyed or drastically changed or altered, I should say, the energy sources that we depend on every day, which is gas and oil. And we would not have been able to survive the way we do now. It would have cut jobs. It would have closed factories. It would have increased utility costs by a lot. It would have decreased economic production, and it would have taken away our ability. Because of all this, it would have taken away our ability to come up with a solution for climate change, for global warming, whatever you want to call it. And that's the biggest thing. That's the saddest thing of all. There are things out there that they have discussed. They've got a thing called carbon capture technology. All right. What it is carbon capture and storage. You capture this the waste CO2. It's usually from places like cement factories or power plants, and you transport it into a storage site and you deposit it where it will not enter the atmosphere. Usually that's underground. Okay. Things like that have already been invented. Things like that are already in the process of happening, and we should explore that a little more. Let American ingenuity fix this problem. The government is not going to fix this. They're going to take your money, high taxes, and they're not going to come up with a solution. I can promise you that. This is just, what they're asking is just way too much of a burden. If every country reached full compliance, check the stat out. If every country reached full compliance as to what they want on climate change, the change in temperature would be minuscule. It would be 0.2 of 1 degree Celsius by 2100. So what does that mean? We all comply, and instead of dying in 12 years, we die in 20? Those are just the facts. All right, it's a very small benefit for such a massive setback. China accounts for way more global emissions, more than double than what the United States does. But because of the PCA and how much they hate us, but like everybody else, China is able to continue increasing its emissions for over a decade. And the carbon reduction that the U.S. would achieve by being totally compliant is the same amount of carbon that China emits in 14 days. What is it that these Democratic primary people want from us? Maybe you're talking to the wrong country. Maybe you should be campaigning in China. Do you think the UN IPCC, do you think they're getting on China like they get on us? No. Why? Because we have the money. We have the money, and we want the United States money in this. There's just less than 200 countries that are in this Paris Climate Agreement. But no, the United States is the one that's cashed up. Let's get their money. This is sickening. Let's talk about Germany. Germany's energy experiment. Germany has spent greater than $580 billion to phase out coal as an energy source by 2038. In 2018, coal still accounted for 38% of Germany's energy industry. Their expensive push for wind and solar hasn't made a dent on emissions per capita. $580 billion, Germany. For what? For absolutely nothing. Yet these Democratic potential presidents, which they're not going to win, but they're trying to shove this down our throat. What sense does that make to anybody? Currently, the United States has already decreased emissions by 14% since 2000. It looks like we're doing something right. What is the big scare for the United States? We're clearly doing something right. We're exploring new energy technologies like natural gas, which completely revolutionized clean energy and led to decreased costs. We don't need legislation keeping us in this unreasonable agreement. Trump was right about this. That was a good move. I don't care what anybody says. When you look at the numbers, when you look at what other countries are doing, it wasn't doable. We're not there to support 200 other countries. I'm sorry. That's not the way it works. When China has double the emissions of us, why are we the ones spending the money in the UN IPCC not getting in China's grill about this? Does that make sense to anybody? Because it doesn't make sense to me. This is disgusting. I hate this. What else do we have? We don't need to be handicapped by what they want to propose to us. Socialism is all it's going to do is choke out any ingenuity that we may come up with to deal with this climate change. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. The socialism agenda, it's got to stop. When you add, think about this a second. Climate change. It's a socialism agenda that they're pushing. Then they also want to take away your guns. So if if you want to, if the Republic wants to fight with them about it, and it gets to where they are using violent ways to make us swallow this pill. And by the way, we've taken away your guns, so you can't really protect yourself in any way. Look what they've done in Hong Kong, what the police have done in Hong Kong to those people who are peacefully protesting. They got you by the short hairs. That's what they do. They got you by the short hairs. There's nothing you can do about it. Once you buy into this, they got you. They got you. And live with it. You can't do anything about it. And by the way, we have your guns. No militia is going to fight back. They want to change the Constitution. I know Steve from Illinois right now. I know his hair is on top of, just standing at the top of his head. It's just writhing, just mad hearing this. This cannot happen, guys. We have to stand up to this. We absolutely have to stand up to this. They got this guy, Bill Ware, chief climate correspondent for CNN. I'm sure he's not disagreeing with any of these candidates. Matter of fact, he's probably prompted them, say this, say that, say the other. We're going to give them 7 hours of just pushing this down their throat. I bet that's exactly what's going on here. I absolutely bet that's exactly what's going on. Want to take your guns, want to force you to take in this climate change, want to raise your taxes. This is socialism in the making without them even using the word socialism. That's it, guys. That's exactly what it is. Carbon emissions. Carbon emissions. We got to stop the carbon emissions. We got to stop the cows from passing flatus. Honestly, that's what it's all about. Elaine, one of my Facebook people here, she said, why don't we just drop some water in the ice cube, some ice cubes in the water to cool it? Oh, man. All right. Sheila from Louisiana. She's going to give me her 2 cents worth. Sheila, bring it. How are you, darling? Oh, hold on.
About climate change.
Talk to me, Sheila.
This world has been changing since it was ever born. Since Genesis.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. Whenever, I never saw so much stuff come out besides on global changing and everything till the day after tomorrow came out, and I think it scared people half to death. And
Maybe.
You know what's bad? The Democrats are trying to scare people half to death, and they're afraid of dying.
Exactly. That's my point. They want you to buy into this, and they're going to call it anything but socialism to scare you, to get you to raise your taxes, to get your taxes raised so that you have to depend on them for everything. That's what the agenda is.
I did some studies on this stuff after the day after tomorrow came out.
Okay.
We've been having little ice ages all along, and it's going to go into the big one. But you saw how fast New York and all them froze up there so quick. I mean, it was real fast.
Well,
if it goes ice age, it's gonna be over in about 2 or 3 days.
Listen, part of the problem, Sheila, is that the way they initially came up with this whole thing is that they used there's different weather models. I don't know the exact terminology for it. Forgive me for it. It escapes me at the moment. But there's 32 different models that can kind of predict what the temperature is going to be. And they can choose from any one of these 32. Believe it or not, the one that's been most accurate is the Russian model. And the funny thing about that is you don't hear Russia talking about climate change. You never hear about...
They're already in an ice age as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, okay. And the funny part about it is if it gets a little warmer, what's going to happen to all our crops? What's going to happen to all our food? Well, maybe those areas that have a little higher temperature, well, they're going to warm up that they can do crops, and maybe some others won't, but we're still going to eat. We're still going to eat. It's not going to change.
You can always build the houses where you can, the hot houses.
Yeah, I suppose you could do that. All right.
If you're a genius and can figure it out how to do it,
Sheila.
But I'm just saying, there's always an answer. There's always an answer, and they're not going to scare me.
No, thank you, Sheila. Don't let them scare you, and spread that to others.
No, I was born, and I'm here to die because that's just the way it is.
But you're not going to die from climate change, are you, Sheila?
No, I can. I do all kinds of stuff.
You're not going to. But like you just said, the whole thing with what I called American ingenuity. We have things like carbon capture technology, which actually shows a ton of promise. You capture the CO2 and you get it from the big sources like cement factories and power plants, and you transport it into these storage sites, and you put it underground so that it's not on top of the atmosphere,
That's right.
causing the heat to go up, causing global warming or climate change.
Now, I'm going to tell you one thing I do agree with.
Let me hear.
The Amazon jungle. Have they ever put that fire out? I don't really. I hadn't heard anything in a couple of days, but I'm not watching Fox News anymore because of what they did.
What did they do?
Well, they made Trump mad, and they did something, and I'm just not watching them anymore. I listen to you guys.
Well, that's a great choice right there. Now, I agree with that. It should be the John Meccico show first, the Guillermo Moreno and Jairus show second, and then Jairus Jackson show second, and then Fox News third. That's what I say.
Well,
you have good taste in your news broadcasting.
There's
let me tell you
always been a way. God gave us the ark with Noah.
Listen, listen. Yeah, well, if we're going to take it from a biblical standpoint, climate change was not on the agenda as far as Revelations. So yeah. So
I just want to say, everybody calm down and quit being scared of what these Democrats are bringing out about climate change.
The Chinese steal our technology because of our American ingenuity. Let it go to work. Trust me, if there's a big payday for somebody to get to save the world with climate change, somebody's going to come up with it.
They can always go dig some mud bugs up and boil them.
All right. Sheila, with that, love you, caller. Thank you, Sheila. You take care, sweetie.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Hey, did you hear what she said, Woody? The John Meccico show. That's where you go for answers. She listens to us. In all fairness, she said guys, not guy. So we have to give Jairus and Guillermo some credit on this, I suppose. But anyway, and can't forget Woody. All right, Woody's behind the glass, making it all happen. Guys, you're listening to Talk Radio 1680 KGED, and this is going to be the Central Valley's home for all things campaign 2020. We will see you after the break. Hey, Facebook, just want to say hi again. I love how you guys are all saying hi to each other like you know each other. I wonder if you actually do. It's pretty cool. Maybe it's on Facebook that you guys see each other's faces. That's fantastic. All right, Kyle. Yo, Kyle, what's up? Kim, hello, Kim. Where is Kim from, by the way? I don't even know where Kim is from. Mike, Michigan. Mike saying hi to everyone. This is becoming quite the thing. Binky, my man. The article talks about figuring out how long it was when the Earth was iceless. Yeah, there's a lot on that. I can only do so much here, but good stuff. All right. Elaine, those photos from Amazon were from last year? I don't know. Were they? The fire that I think she's talking about, was actually fires that were on purpose to get rid of some of the deadwood that was going on, but they blew it up to a whole different story. Dan, it's the magic of the chat room. John, say hi. Dan, I guess it is, buddy. I got to get more socially hip to things, man. Nelda says hello. Hello, guys. Hey, be with you after the break. Thanks, guys.
Valley's new talk leader, Talk Radio 1680 KGED. Here again is John Meccico.
All right, guys, welcome back to Talk Radio 1680 KGED. And we are talking about this, I can't use that word on the air, but this disaster that they're showing on CNN. 7 hours of just shoving this down your throat regarding climate change. I had to take a picture of one of the questions that was asked because I knew I would forget it by the time I got on the air. But somebody asked Amy Klobacher, how do you plan to help communities of color in times of disasters fueled by climate change? Man, if there's a disaster, ain't nobody worried about color. People just want help. You think I'm worried about color? Oh my gosh. This is supposed to be on climate change, and somehow they mixed in racism with this. I don't even understand the question. How do you plan to help communities of color in times of disaster? We help you're human beings. You help everybody. Oh my gosh, stop it already. And then they're asking her about that she has not joined some of the other Democrats calling for a ban on fracking. Why would you want it? We are becoming the number one resource country in the world because of fracking. Why do you want to take us to the old ages where we're dependent on other people? Have us dependent on Iran again? Oh my gosh, I gotta get away from this climate change thing. All right, I got a few minutes left. Let's talk about some other stuff. All right, last Thursday, I talked about the fact that the Democrats are embracing the atheists, embracing them. And the way it was done was really pathetic. And I told you guys last Thursday that the Dems were doing this. I challenged you. I challenged every Christian listening to challenge your church leaders about this. Well, someone on the Democratic side actually spoke out on this. Good for him. It wasn't about, that's the one thing about religion. You know, if you're a deeply religious person, that actually kind of trumps politics. Now, listen, if you're running for office, then the Constitution of the United States, that trumps everything because that's the job that you've chosen. But for Democrats to have done what they did, just unbelievable. So the article goes that a former faith advisor to then President Barack Obama on Friday blasted the Democratic National Committee's recent resolution embracing non-believers, calling it stupid on a fundamental level that transcends electoral politics. Preach on, Brother Mike. Preach on. Is it Mike? Yeah, Mike. Mike where? Preach on, Brother Mike. Preach on. So this is what he tweeted. These people actually approved a resolution with the claim the religiously unaffiliated demographic represents the largest religious group within the Democratic Party. Because the Protestants are all divided within their denominations, but the religiously unaffiliated are coherent. I just want to be clear. This is both politically stupid, but also just stupid on a fundamental level. He is absolutely right. Because there's a lot of Democrats out there that are very religious. There are Democrats, believe it or not. I know us on the right, we don't think that there are, but there are Democrats out there that are very strong religiously, very strong Christians. They're going to have to look at this party and go, wait a minute, you've gone too far. Just 2 weeks ago, Ware said, he had told Fox News, he said, he believed Democrats had a chance at winning over religious voters. President Trump has lowered the bar to reach conservative religious voters to an extent that we haven't seen in this country. This, Michael Ware, you are incorrect about. You are completely wrong on this. I have never heard a president speak more about God and faith in his speeches than Donald J. Trump. I never have. Never have heard anyone do it. I have also heard that he does allow Bible studies in the White House for those who want to have it. And he actually, no problem at all. I've never heard that from a president before. All right? Michael Ware, you're wrong about that particular fact. After the DNC passed a resolution on Saturday claiming the religiously unaffiliated demographic represents the largest religious group within the Democratic Party, Michael Ware changed his tone on what he initially said when he was with the president. He said, Trump is absolutely going to run this into the ground, and not just the white evangelists. I hope what he means that he's going to take this publicity and he's just going to wear the Dems. He's just going to spank the Dems on this. And well, he should. By the way, Weir, during Obama's 2012 reelection campaign and serving as the White House faith-based initiative He led evangelical outreach and helped on value issues, including adoption and anti-human trafficking efforts. All right. I don't know if any of you saw Mark Levin's show, which he has on Sunday night, the Life, Liberty, and Levin. And about 3 weeks ago, he had a filmmaker on, a guy named Jocko Boyens. I don't know Jocko Boyens. It was my first time being introduced to him on his show. But he had this whole show about sex trafficking in America and globally. And he said, these were his words, okay, I'm paraphrasing it, but he said, Donald Trump has been a rock star when it comes to anti-human trafficking efforts. He says no president, and he has gone to different administrations talking about this, wanting the government to get involved in this. He said Donald J. Trump has been a rock star on this. Him and his family wanting very much to do whatever they can to end this. Mark Levin asked him, of course, and you knew he would, what about the Obama administration? He said his words fell on deaf ears. So for this whole thing about anti-human trafficking efforts during the Obama 2012 campaign and during that 4-year or 8-year presidency that he had, he may have had some of his guys listening, but were they doing anything about it? Nothing at all. I found that show with Mark Levin fascinating. I've got young nieces. I remember I called my sister right away. I'm like, you have got to hear this. It was an incredible show. I would urge anybody that has an interest in this to go back and punch it up on YouTube with Jocko Boyens. That's Boyens. It was a real, it was a real eye opener to me. It absolutely was. So I encourage it. There's a guy named Pastor Robert Jeffries. You always see him on Fox doing interviews. And he commented on this. He says, for a long time, Democrats have had a God problem. That is relating to traditional faith voters, and they've tried a variety of things. Faith outreach directors, they've tried that. They've tried talking about God more on the campaign trail. None of it has worked. Why do we think that none of it has worked? Probably because none of it's sincere. That's probably why it is. None of it is sincere because their actions don't match the words that they promote. That's just basically it. I challenge anyone to, I don't even think Jimmy Carter spoke about God as much as President Trump does. Mark, where you were off base about it, but I'm glad you spoke up because the Christian Democrats need to know this. And I will tell you guys again, you guys who are faith-based disciples of God, disciples of Jesus Christ, you do not let your church leaders get away with not speaking on this. All right? Confront them on this. You don't have to be offensive, but doesn't mean you can't go on the offense. All right? This should not stand, and I would urge the Trump administration, every promo that you can push out there regarding the Democrats embracing atheism, do it, because there's a contingency. There's a contingency of Christian people, Democrats and Republicans, who want to see this country succeed, but they want to see it God-led. Democrats, you did us. Thank you. Thank you so much for what you did. I can't thank you enough for what you did because we're all under the impression that there's a ton of Christian voters, potential voters, who just sit there and don't vote. They don't. They just I don't want to be involved. You might have just poked the bear and got them involved. You might have just woke them up to say, oh, yeah, really? I'm getting to that ballot box. I'm mailing it in whatever I have to do. I think the Dems made a big mistake, and I think we're going to know it in 2020 before the whole, the real campaigning starts, because I guarantee you're going to see commercial after commercial, and you're going to hear Trump talk about this, and the Christian evangelicals are going to come out en masse. They're going to vote for Trump on this, as long as Trump continues to remind them what the Dems had to say about their faith. They can't come up short on this. They've got to speak on this. I talk about, I do a lot of volunteer work, and I speak on this a lot. I don't try to make it political per se, but I do encourage that Christians have to vote and that they should take in some biblical principles. They absolutely should. So, Dems, where do you stand on this? I heard a lot of Democrat preachers when Trump got nominated. I heard them basically, I don't want to say that they were ripping on him, but they were certainly not approving of the vote, of the election. And they all thought, oh, the world is going to come to an end. He's a racist. He's this, he's that, he's the other. Dems, let me tell you, he hasn't proven to be any of those things. He hasn't proven to be the wild man that you thought he was going to be. He hasn't proven to be the racist that they're still touting now. We've gone over that on many of my other shows. I won't go through it again, not right now. But look it up. This guy's done good for everybody. Your taxes are lower. Unemployment's down. Minority communities are working at a pace they haven't worked at before. What has he done that's so bad? He's looked out for everybody. He's looked out for everybody. Evangelical voters, I'm counting on you. And you're going to hear me say this again on the show. I'm going to preach. I'm not a preacher, but I'm going to preach this, man. I'm going to make sure you guys get off your duff and you get out there and vote. Because the Dems don't deserve your vote. And you Democratic Christians, you think twice. Think twice what your party's embracing. That's all I got to say about it today. Guys, you're listening to Talk Radio 1680 KGED. I think Jairus and I and Guillermo next week, we're all together like the whole week. We're doing it, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. As long as Jairus doesn't make me laugh the entire time, then I can get a word out. Because I know he's going to. All right, guys, be back after the break. All right, Facebook. Oh, man, a lot of comments today. 85. Wow. That's because you guys are all talking to each other. You're not talking to me. But I love it. Michael, amen, Brother John. I was preaching it, Mike. I was trying. I'm going to preach it again, too. The devil will twist the truth. Linda, hello. Some new names here. Good, good. As old as I am, I got a catfish. You think I know better? Exactly mine, too. Denise, hello. Stacy, hello. Hollister, listening. Thank you. Hey, your comments have been great, guys. You know I love them so much, so thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, good stuff. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. If I get a chance to talk to you after the next break, I will. We'll see. But either way, thank you so much.
Talk Radio 1680 KGED.
All right, guys, welcome back to Talk Radio 1680 KGED. I was holding on to the story yesterday, but actually I'm glad I did now because there was news about it. And this is about the kids in Hong Kong and their protest. So Monday was the first day of school. And I think that the Chinese government was anticipating that these young kids would get back to school, that the protests would die down. But instead, the opposite happened. And the university students in tens of thousands still showed up, and even had middle school kids showing up. So, there was just no indication of this thing dying down by any means. Well, apparently today, the government formally withdrew the bill the bill being sending people to China for any kind of criminal activity and letting China deal with the punishment. They felt that was totally unfair. There's a lot of things that they think were unfair, but that was kind of the thing that started the protest. But anyways, they withdrew that, and they're just trying to have some civility again. Now, many protesters, they're extremely furious because of the police brutality and the numbers of arrests. They've had 1,183 arrests at the latest count, at least from when I printed this article, and they want the city government to establish an independent commission to probe instances of police violence. So following Lam is the leader of Hong Kong, who, by the way, is hired by China, so that doesn't sit well with the community. Convener of the city's legislature's pro-democracy camp, a person named Claudia Mo, said at a press conference that Lam's so-called concession has come too little too late. The damage is done. The wounds are still bleeding in Hong Kong. She thinks that she can use some garden hose to put out a hill fire. That is not going to be acceptable. So they're still not happy. Pro-democracy lawmaker, which I can't pronounce her name, so I won't even try, took to his Facebook page and said, 5 demands, not one less. And these were it. He said, in addition to the withdrawal of the extradition bill, which is what we just talked about, the protesters have continually demanded an independent inquiry into the protests, fully democratic elections, because nobody wants Lam there because she's actually put into power by China. So therefore, China's tugging at her political strings. They want fully democratic elections. They dropping the government's previous characterization of the protests as riots. They didn't like that it was riots because they went in there very peacefully. It was a peaceful demonstration, is what they want it to be called, which it should be called because it was a peaceful demonstration. It was not a riot. So they want that to be expunged, and they want all protesters who have been arrested so far to be exonerated. So one is not enough. This one little thing is not enough, and I get their point. They've been done wrong. Some of that stuff was really brutal. I think it was a week or so ago, the one, maybe 2 weeks ago, but the one girl who was a volunteer medic had a rubber, one of those rubber pellets in her eye. And, the video was graphic. You just saw blood pouring out of there, and she's a volunteer medic trying to help people who, in case they got injured during these peaceful demonstrations, she's trying to help them. And she was the one who got injured. Yeah, they're upset. And so the question is going to be this. Does this one bill that they're removing, is that going to be enough for the riots to calm down? We're going to see in the next day or two, because if they still got tens of thousands of people demonstrating on the streets, China's going to have to rethink a few things, and I kind of hope that they do. I really do. All right, I don't know if I'm going to have time to go to the rest of these stories, but I will try. Where is it? The San Francisco story. So San Francisco, let me see if I can find this. Well, let's do this. Yesterday we talked about the whole gun thing and Cruz and the mayor of Chicago getting into this beef, and the mayor of Chicago saying that the problem is that the guns come from Indiana. And of course the question would be, well, if the guns are coming from Indiana, why doesn't Indiana have a problem with the kind of crime that you have? Because she said that 60% of illegal firearms are recovered in Chicago come from outside of Indiana, outside of Illinois. She was blaming Indiana and a few other states for this. So, I said, Miss Lightfoot, you're totally wrong on this. This is about the mindset of these criminals wanting to get guns. I don't know where that gets confusing. I really don't understand that at all. So what ended up happening is, and what I didn't get to cover, was the amount of violence that occurred over the weekend, Labor Day weekend. In Philadelphia, well, let me say in Chicago, you had 25 shot, 7 killed during the first half of Labor Day weekend. All right. Philadelphia, 6 were killed, 19 injured. Baltimore, 2 were killed, 10 more injured. Did anybody report that any of these outside of the local media? You only heard about this if you were listening to the Philly media or the Baltimore media or the Chicago media. You weren't hearing about this on CNN and in the gun. All they could talk about was Odessa and the mass shootings. That's all that they could talk about. I think they're missing the point in a big, big way. Criminals don't obey the law. All right? You can abolish gun laws all you want. Criminals are not going to give up their guns. And there's going to be a black market for it. They're going to find a way to do it. And if it's not going to be a gun, it's going to be something else. You're going to have those Molotov, things being thrown, to hurt people. Or you're going to have a lot of stabbings. Or listen, there's a ton of ways to hurt people. If people want to hurt people, they're going to hurt them. It doesn't always have to be with a gun. But listen, if you're not going to address Philly, and you're not going to address Baltimore, and you're not going to address Chicago, I'm sorry, you got nothing to stand on here. If you're just not going to stand on mass shootings and AK-15s, your argument's weak in my opinion. It's very weak. You want to take the guns away from law-abiding citizens, knowing that it's going to be kept in the hands of criminals. Let's think this through. So the citizens, the responsible citizens, cannot protect themselves from criminals. And the way San Francisco is going, their police aren't going to be, in cities like that, in New York, cities like that aren't going to be able to protect us either. What do we have? Is it bow and arrow next? Are we going to have to become knife experts on long-distance knife throwing? What is it that you want from us? Guys, it was a quick hour. I really appreciate everything. You got the Guillermo Moreno Show coming up next. Please stay tuned. And he's going to have a field day with this CNN climate change. I just know it, man. I just know it. Hey, guys, appreciate everything. Listen to Talk Radio 1680, KGED. Talk to you tomorrow. Hey, Facebook, I just want to say thanks for everything. Appreciate it. All right, guys, talk to you later.
Is your plan aggressive enough? I guess that's the question people
Yes, I think it is aggressive enough, and it's gotten good reviews from most of the environmental community. It's been rated very highly, and I think that it is aggressive enough. But look, science and technology are going to change, and as it changes, we learn more, we can do more. I mean, I'd love to do it by 2030. I'd love to do it by 2035 in terms of net zero emissions. But with back in the 90s, everything I've done has been done to take on the polluters and take on those who are, in fact, decimating our environment. I mean, it's been my career.
Would you support a carbon tax? Some other candidates say they would.
Yeah, no, I would. But here's what we have to do. Look, the bottom line of this is, what we have to do is we have to understand that you need to be able to bring people and countries and interests together to get anything done. You can have, the plans are great, but executing on those plans is a very different thing. We make up, it is the existential threat of not this generation, but the whole world. The existential threat that exists. We don't move on it, number one.
You'd say this is an existential threat.
It is an existential threat. There is no doubt about that. And the fact of the matter is that we make up 15% of the problem. The rest of the world makes up 80%, 85% of the problem. If we did everything perfectly, everything, and we must and should, in order to get other countries to move, we still have to get the rest of the world to come along. And the fact of the matter is we have to up the ante considerably. And I have great experience in leading coalitions, both at home and internationally. And I think I can do that better than anybody who, no matter what their plans.
Well, that's one of the things that President Trump has said about the climate change accord. The agreement is that other countries, even if we do everything right, other countries are not going to be following it, and therefore it's not worth being part of it.
Well, he's dead wrong across the board on basically everything. You know, no, I mean, I'm not being facetious. Look, you know, we got to start choosing science over fantasy here. The fact of the matter is that what he did by removing the United States as the leader of the Paris Climate Accord, he in fact dissipated the enthusiasm across the board. The rest of the countries are saying, whoa, wait a minute. Why are we engaged in this if the United States is stepping down? We're in a position where when we put that together, and I was the one that suggested to the President Obama, I don't want to confuse presidents here, President Obama, that China would be part of this effort when I came back after a long meeting with Xi Jinping in Beijing. And he was. But here's the deal.
Hey, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We're about to get started right now.
This is America. This is the Guillermo Moreno Show. And now, Guillermo Moreno.
Right now, what is a tremendous injustice.
Secretary Castro, I want to bring in CNN's chief climate correspondent, Bill Weir.
Secretary Castro, good to see you. I brought back some beauty shots to frame my question. This is Tongass National Forest up in Alaska, the last great temperate rainforest left on Earth, old-growth trees, 500 years old, an amazing array of biodiversity. And I went there because President Trump and the governor of Alaska want to open about 9 million acres of this for new roads and mining and logging operations. You propose setting aside half of American land and oceans for wildlife, for biodiversity. Where does that come from? Where do you get the thousands of square miles when places like Tongass aren't really that protected, obviously?
Thank you very much, Bill, for the question, and thank you for bringing us some delightful images amidst all of this talk. But that's because we need to go and we actually need to undo the damage that this administration has done and then expand the lands that we're protecting in our country. We can do that. A few weeks ago, before I put out my climate plan,
That was Julian Castro, and hey, you want to give out a bunch of land, or you want to protect a bunch of land. We ain't got that much land left. What are you gonna do? Oh, we're gonna find land. That's right. So first listen, the climate change marathon that's going on right now on CNN, and it's called the climate crisis. That's right. What are you doing right now? Whatever you're doing, you better stop what you're doing. All right, let's just start it out that way. Go to your nearest, grocery store. Go to your Home Depot, also known as the Home Depot. I don't care where you go. Go get your supplies. Go get everything, because we only got 11 years to live. And darn it, unless we get President Trump out of the White House, we're all going to die. All right? I said it. You don't have to watch the 7 hours of the climate crisis that we are now facing, according to the left and the liberals. Climate, listen, right now, you got Democrats, and Joe Biden is literally on right now with Anderson Cooper. You have Democrats saying, no, my plan is going to be $1 trillion. Oh, yeah, well, my plan is going to be $10 trillion. Oh, yeah, my plan is going to be $16 trillion. Oh, yeah, well, my plan is going to be so many trillions, you're not even going to know what hit you. That is literally what they're advocating right now. This climate crisis, this climate town hall. I'm gonna be honest with you, all right? Shh, just you and me, right? Just you and me. No one else listening. All right, let me tell you what. I love the 7 hours of the climate crisis. I absolutely love it. I do. You want to know why? You want to know why I love it? Because this is literally the issue that the Democrats honestly think is going to win the White House. This one singular issue, climate change, this one topic is going to basically give them the White House. They have literally gone all nuts for climate change. You get that, right? They are devoting 7 hours. Like, someone literally at CNN thought it was a great job to say, yep, climate change. Listen, the American consumer, which probably can't hold their attention span longer than half an hour. Why do you think sitcoms were originally half an hour? Because that was about as much time as we could take an episode, right? Someone in CNN was like, yep, 7 hours. People are going to love it. Advertisers are going to buy so many ads, and we're going to put up this pretty picture of the world. We're going to show images of before, after, beauty, ugly, geek to chic. Remember those geek to chics? Literally that bad. I love the fact that the Democrats and the Democrat liberal media are going all in on this, because it shows you how far off they really are. They're throwing in the towel. They really are. I mean, they don't even. I don't know if have you ever been a part of team sports, right? You ever been a part of team sports, and your next opponents rank like number 1, and you know you just got nothing. You guys, you ain't gonna win. We're in high school football season right now, right? You know what I mean? You love your team. Great kids. But you guys are facing the big boys, right? You guys are facing those Kingsburg Vikings. You just know off the bat, I'm done. What is practice like that week before a big game where you're about to get clobbered, right? That's exactly how these Democrats literally are right now. They are throwing in the towel. If they honestly believe in their hearts that climate change is what's going to take the cake, that's going to give them 2020. Folks, conservatives, Republicans, people that just don't like liberalism, we are A-OK. We got this in the bag. 7 hours. 7 hours to repeat the same thing. We only got 11 years left. If we don't act now, there's nothing we can do. We are causing so much harm to the environment. Think about that. Just think about where we're at. This is the issue. Right? Poverty. I guess. Remember, I used to be like, I want to eradicate poverty. I want to solve world hunger. Right? Right, those aren't topics anymore, right? This is the topic. Don't forget healthcare. Are they having a 7-hour marathon on healthcare? Nope. Are they having a 7-hour marathon on jobs? Nope. You want to know why they're not having a 7-hour marathon on jobs? Because the president has done a pretty darn good job with jobs. Are they having a 7-hour marathon on any other topic? You pick it. You choose. This is the state of affairs right now. Trump, and I'll be honest, and you know I'm always honest with you. The president can get hit pretty hard with some topics, but like a football coach, I'm not gonna tell you our weaknesses. All right, you got to find that out on your own. The Democrats, they got a plethora of things they can choose from. All right, the president has done an outstanding job. He's gone to bat for the American people. Our economy's doing great. Unemployment numbers are down. This president is having a historic presidency. Make no mistake about it. He's renegotiating deals which are going to end up in our favor. Let's just be honest where we're at. That's reality. The reason CNN has to devote 7 hours to climate change is because they got nothing. They got no topic. They got no issue. They got nothing that can literally take down President Trump. Right? What was the most, listen, before we're all going to die in 11 to 12 years, all right, before this hogwash, what was the main thing that they were going after? President Trump. Russia, right? Russia. Mueller. Collusion, right? That was it. That was the existential threat, right? You know how the Democrats have now coined that word, the existential threat. We're going to die. We're going to die because President Trump and Russia stole 2016. Now, you don't even hear that's in the rear view mirror. You don't even hear that anymore. Now, this climate, man, but we're going to die. And, you want to know the one interesting part about all this? We're going to die, right? That's essentially, this is the narrative that every single one of them has said. All right. We're going to die. We're going to cease to exist unless we do this, right? And you know what this is? Take extreme action. Take steps that we've never seen. We're going to be bold, right? We're going to die unless you elect us. We're going to die in 11 years because of climate change unless we take President Trump out of the White House. Because listen, folks, for our existence, all right, for you and I to literally see 2031, my math is off, 2032, for you and I to see 2032, you and I have to elect one of these wackadoodles. Literally, we literally got to elect Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders or Julian Castro, Beto O'Rourke to save our existence. That's right. You want to know why the dinosaurs didn't survive? Because they must have had a racist dinosaur in the White House. Right? But they literally have. They got nothing. And I'm looking. Listen. And we have it on CNN right now. And they just panned out the town hall. What hour are we in? Like hour 4 of this? I think we're in hour 4, right? They literally panned out to the entire audience. You know how many people are there? Maybe less than 100. Maybe less than 100. Yeah. All right. Climate change, climate crisis, climate emergency. We should literally all be prepping right now for the end of time. Because according to these Democrats, we're doomed. We literally will cease. We're going to be like the dinosaurs. That's how bad it is. Hey, CNN, put on some of that footage of the ice melting. Put that one footage up we got of the skinny polar bear. Put that up. People love that. Folks, fear is what they're using today. And I love it. I ain't gonna lie. I love it. I really do. You know why? Because if this is their smoking gun, they're gonna ride this horse all the way to the White House. They're gonna ride this donkey to the White House. Boy, they got another thing coming. They're not even near the White House. 559-442-1680. When we come back, I told you it was going to happen. Hurricane Dorian is now being blamed on climate change. And I got the audio from CNN. We come back here on the Guillermo Moreno Show, 559-442-1680. We'll be right back. All right, folks, appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think about this nonsense. I'll play it right now during the break. This is Joe Biden. This is Joe Biden right now at the town hall.
Because 85% of the problem, 85% is the rest of the world. And so the idea, I think the Green New Deal deserves an enormous amount of credit for bringing this to a head in a way that it hasn't been before. It hasn't been. But the reason, I don't know, I'm not opposed to the Green New Deal. What I did was went, I thought, beyond, at least in more detail, what the Green New Deal is calling for. How to do the things we need to do, when they have to be done, how quickly we should move, how much we should invest, et cetera. And it's based on science. And look, I just look at all the organizations that many of you belong to, how they rated my plan. On balance, it's been B+ or beyond that by every one of these organizations. And so the idea that, no, you're shaking your head, no, but that's true. The fact of the matter is that where are we?
How for you and your thinking, how much do you take into consideration, job?
This is Anderson Cooper here. And I don't want to, I can't play his voice, but
it's all about 7 generations out, but you've got to deal with what's going on with jobs. This is an enormous opportunity. An enormous opportunity. We can create over 10 million jobs that are making $25 an hour. We're not talking about jobs you're going to get a minimum wage. We can do so much if we invest the kind of money. Well, for example, I call for immediately investing $400 billion in research and development now. And goes so the idea that we're not going to look, what bothers me most about what's going on in the country today, we're walking around with our heads down like, oh, what are we going to do? We're in such great trouble. This is the United States of America. There's not a damn thing we've not been able to accomplish once we set our mind to it. We have the best scientists in the world, and when we resolve what we're going to do, and because of all of you in the studio audience and all those organizations that I've been associated with, they've decided enough is enough is enough. We have to act. And so we can create enormous opportunity in Pennsylvania, in Minnesota, in California, across the board. Just think what happens. If we are able to move in a direction that we have 500,000 charging stations for electric vehicles.
All right, folks, coming right back.
What does that do?
And now, Guillermo Moreno.
Climate change, folks. The CNN town hall, 7 hours. Town hall, they're talking to every single candidate that that has a $1 trillion plan plus to battle climate change. And folks, I told you, I love it. I don't know why are they limiting it to 7 hours? I really think to talk about climate change, we got to at least do 14 hours. At least 14. You want to know why? Because the longer they talk about it, the longer everybody has to flip to the channel to CNN and just laugh their pants off. Literally. All right? So here's Wolf Blitzer. Breaking news. I'm getting this. Hurricane Dorian is caused by climate change. Anyhow, here's Wolf Blitzer, and I'm not lying. Climate change. Hurricane Dorian. Climate change.
Good evening and welcome to the CNN Democratic Presidential Town Hall on the climate crisis. I want to welcome our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer.
Not much
tonight. The top 10 Democratic presidential candidates will be here on this stage in New York City, appearing one by one for the next 7 hours. This unprecedented town hall is dedicated to the climate crisis, an issue many voters say needs aggressive action. And scientists say that action needs to happen now. We're seeing firsthand the effects of climate change as a powerful Atlantic hurricane is sitting right now off the coast of Florida. It could make landfall tomorrow in South Carolina. Tonight, Democratic...
Oh, that's right. Darn that Hurricane Dorian. Listen, folks. Breaking news. Hurricane Dorian. Because of climate change. All right? Listen, you heard it from Wolf Blitzer's mouth. in this, Hurricane Dorian's out there. We got climate change. Without a doubt, it's contributing to Hurricane Dorian. I didn't know. I really didn't know that hurricanes only happened because of climate change. He didn't say that. I agree. But I mean, he's literally adding fuel to the fire by saying, I got Hurricane Dorian out there and we got climate change. Just saying. How did he say it? Because I don't like misquoting people. Let's go back here. Let's go back, Wolf. How did you say it? Let's give
action. And scientists say that action needs to happen now. We're seeing firsthand the effects of climate change as a powerful Atlantic hurricane.
I am right. We're seeing the firsthand effects of climate change. Firsthand. You're watching it right now, the firsthand.
Seeing firsthand the effects of climate change as a powerful Atlantic hurricane is sitting right now off the coast of Florida. It could make landfall tomorrow in South Carolina.
Oh, man, look at this guy. Seriously, literally blame Dorian. We're seeing the first effects of climate change. First-hand effects of climate change. You want to know something? Me and a good friend and I were talking about this earlier. You know how upset the Democrat politicians, especially those running for president, are right now that Hurricane Dorian didn't make literal landfall and damage to Florida and to South Carolina? You want to know how mad they are? They're really upset because if Hurricane Dorian would have come in at a category 4 or 5, they would have had 3 things to complain about against President Trump. Number 1 would be, never have they been this strong where they came in this fast and this hard. Total climate change. Climate change caused this, Dorian, to hit so hard. That was going to be their first hit. Their second hit was going to be, listen, the president has literally taken so much money from FEMA and diverted it to immigration, he's off his rocker. So that would have been the second thing they wanted to do a touchdown on. Now, the third thing they wanted to seriously hit a home run on, right? Because they really wanted Dorian to hit. I'm telling you they did. They literally would have said, we weren't ready. FEMA was not ready. Dorian deciding to kind of just chill out there for a while, you know what? I'm just going to stay out here, right? Literally messed up the entire game plan of these candidates and CNN. Granted, the climate change, the 7-hour marathon forum, or sorry, as Wolf Blitzer calls it, unprecedented. This is unprecedented 7 hours. 7 hours unprecedented. This quote-unquote unprecedented 7 hours was scheduled way out in advance. But it's no coinkydink that they tried to do it during hurricane season, and it's no coinkydink that they decided to keep it right after Hurricane Dorian. I'm telling you, folks, this literally is all, they're all in it together, folks. This is absolute, it's stupidity of epic proportions. And I was listening to Joe Biden during the break. All right, Joe Biden is sitting down with Anderson Cooper right now. And he's getting hammered, I'll tell you that. Listen, Joe Biden is not being, all these tree huggers that are sitting there, they don't like Joe Biden. So Joe Biden, in the one, about 1 or 2 minutes that we were able to listen to him, talked about jobs, okay? So Joe Biden's idea, and a lot of these Democrat candidates are now saying, listen, climate change, the Green New Deal we're going to spend so much money on just basically trying to alleviate the climate that we are going to create jobs that pay $25 an hour. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, wait a minute. Let me get this straight. Your plan, and Jared's talked about it during his show, some of the 2020 Democrat candidate proposals, well, they literally are so much more than the money we have in circulation. Literally. So how are you going to pass your grand plan and somehow, magically out of thin air, you're going to afford to pay people $25 an hour for a green job from the Green New Deal? Folks, if this doesn't scream socialism, communism, or the beginning of it, I don't know what will. You have these candidates literally saying, hey, folks, just elect us. You're all going to be working on Green New Deal jobs. Seriously. Don't listen. This climate change, it's so tough that we're now going to tell you, you got to take a Green New Deal job. But don't worry, because they pay all $25 an hour. You're going to be good. Folks, this is scary. I'll tell you. You want me to tell you what the existential threat is? The existential threat are these Democrats. Literally. If they ever get a hold of the White House, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Julian Castro, Pocahontas, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, Andrew Yang, they are literally all the existential threats to this country. This one topic, as Wolf Blitzer called it, is unprecedented. It is unprecedented that CNN is doing 7 hours. You want to know what else is unprecedented for CNN? Telling the truth. Yeah, and actually delivering a factual newscast. That's unprecedented. Let me tell you what. That will literally be breaking news when CNN has good, valid, no opinion news. That's what's unprecedented, and I think that's what the people really want. Joe Biden's still on stage right now. He also keeps mentioning this. He mentioned it on debate night too, right? He said that there's going to be 500,000 charging stations. All right, wait a minute. I think Joe Biden literally just busted a vein in his eye. I think it's like really bloodshot. All right, let's go in. This is Joe Biden here. It looks like he's having a pretty hard time here with the question because his eye's bloodshot.
China is currently the largest emitter of CO2.
How,
if at all, would you try to get China to lower its emissions as president?
All right.
I would make it real clear. That's why we have to bring around the rest of the world. We have to reconfigure what's going on. When we did the Paris Accord that they signed on,
he's still there.
It was agreed that we would constantly up the ante. The nations would agree to, contingent upon what the science dictated and the extent of the problem. We have to up the ante. What's going on? Number one. Number two, any nation that doesn't do that, for example, what China is doing, they're exporting coal technology. They're building coal plants on their Belt and Road area. They're moving in a way that they're in fact making the environment much, much worse. They, in fact, have increased, I think, 4.5%. They have increased the emissions from China. And so there has to be a price that they pay if they do that. And that's why I would talk about dealing with how we deal with them in terms of tariffs relating to their products that are being sold, if in fact they are.
All right, listen, that's Joe Biden live right now. He just got asked a question about China. And we'll get back to that. But listen, I do have confirmation. We have a very special guest. We got to go. We got to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to have Gregory Wrightstone, the author of The Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. He'll be on right now after this break here on the New Talk Radio 1680 KGED. All right, folks, I'm going to get Joe Biden back on so you guys can hear this nonsense.
Preach to the choir if, in fact, you can't sing. We have to be able to demonstrate what we are prepared to do, what we will do, what we have done, and call the rest of the world to account.
So let me ask you about that, because you talk about exporting. The United States projected to be a net energy exporter by next year, largely because of crude oil and natural gas. Should the U.S. ban fossil fuel exports, as some other candidates are calling for?
Well, I think we should, in fact, depending on what it is they're exporting for, what they're replacing. Everything is incremental. Everything is incremental. For example, you talked earlier about transportation. I've been pushing really hard for mass transit and for rail. We can take millions of vehicles off the road if we had high-speed rail. I've been a champion of that for the last 25 years. We know the corridors where we could do that. It would literally take millions of vehicles off the road. But you have to have a rail system that makes people say, if I get on that rail, I will get there as fast as I would have gotten had I driven. And I can afford to do it relative to the cost of my driving.
As soon as we can.
There's a direct correlation. This is something I spent the bulk of my career on, trying to save Amtrak and a few other little things like transportation. But my point is that there are things that we can do now that can begin to change the arc in a significant way. And as we, in fact, invest in the science and the technology and the changes that are available and will come to fruition, in fact, we can make it significantly better.
Will there be a point, or would you like there to be a point, and if so, when, that everybody drives an electric car or has to drive one?
And now, Guillermo Moreno.
Economically feasible, and it is economically feasible, because guess what? Everybody knows where the world's going. You're not just like, we set out the rules for what kind of plant, coal burning plants. No one's going to build another coal burning. We've got to shut the ones down we have. but no one is going to build a new one. Guess what? They're not efficient relative to what else is available to be done. That's why people are going to move, and that's why it's going to create so many new jobs for us.
That was Vice President Joe Biden at the CNN unprecedented town hall on CNN right now. Listen up, we're in for a real special treat here, and I'm glad I was able to do it right away. We have Gregory Wrightstone. He is the author of Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. Gregory Wrightstone is a geologist with more than 35 years experience researching and studying various aspects of the Earth's processes. And Gregory Wrightstone, he is on the line. Gregory, Mr. Wrightstone.
Yes, how are you? Hey, thank you. You rescued me from having to watch the rest of that ridiculous parade of fools.
All right,
oh my goodness.
Mr.
They believe is crazy.
Listen, Mr. Wrightstone, I actually like it. You want to know why? Because if this is what the Democrats think are actually going to, get them into the White House, I love it. I think they should do 14 hours of it.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was just shaking my head. I've been watching it now. What is it? 3.5 hours I've been watching it. Because that's what I do. I have to analyze this stuff. And there's commonalities between all of them. They all want to go to a carbon-free, completely away from fossil fuels. The only difference will be, well, do we do it by 2025 or 2030? All of them by 2050 want us to be completely rid of fossil fuels. And they also are all in agreement that our changing climate is due to man-made emissions and that it will lead to catastrophic consequences. So they've got these commonalities, and you've had me on before. You know what I think about this, and it's, I see an Earth that's thriving and prospering and greening, and humanity's benefiting from the changing climate, from slightly rising temperatures and increasing CO2 are benefiting the Earth's ecosystems and the human condition tremendously.
Gregory Wrightstone is on the line. I don't know if you could turn off your background. I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
Okay.
But perfect. All right, sounds good. We have Gregory Wrightstone. He is the author of Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. Wolf Blitzer came out there in the beginning and said, the firsthand effects of climate change we're seeing right now with Hurricane Dorian. What do you make of Wolf Blitzer and these candidates blaming the weather right now on climate change?
Yeah, well, the Hurricane Dorian. If you look at, there's two things they're saying about hurricanes. One is that they're increasing in number, and the other is they're increasing in intensity. And if you look at it, which I've done, if you look at the NOAA data, it completely blows up this idea of increasing number of hurricanes.
You said the what data? NOAA data?
Yeah, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Association.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so particularly the chart of landfalling hurricanes in the United States, it's hard to get good hurricane data that's really accurate in the before the satellite era that started in the late 70s. Mm-hmm. But landfalling hurricanes, what they say is, well, their data goes back to 1850. They said, well, if a hurricane made landfall in the United States, we would know it.
Gotcha.
So, and then the intensity, NOAA's resident expert, Christopher Landsea. Isn't that a great name for a hurricane guy, Landsea?
I love it, Landsea. That is
almost as good as a geologist named Wrightstone.
Very true, Gregory. Very true.
Yeah, but according to Christopher Landsea, the increase in hurricane wind speed is somewhere between 1% and 2% due to warming temperatures. And I'm not sure I buy it, but let's just give him grant him the benefit of the doubt. If that's the case, I don't think anybody in the Bahamas were going to be able to tell the difference between 136 and 138 miles per hour when it hit.
Yeah.
And we also see just today, John Christie, climatologist, took a look at the 27 landfalling hurricanes that hit the east coast of Florida, and he showed all the data with their wind speeds, and there's absolutely no observational linkage between increasing wind speed and these go back. That data went back to, I think, 1871.
Wow, 1871.
So they're just wrong.
They're really inconvenient facts, right, Gregory? Right, Stone? And that's the name of your book, Inconvenient Facts: The Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know. On my way over to the studio, I was thinking this. Either A, they're all drinking out of the same Kool-Aid, but what data? I'm just curious. What are they all looking at? What crystal ball are they all looking at that literally tells them, hey, if we don't do something in 11 years, we're going to die? Like, is that a specific study? What are they seeing that we don't?
Well, they're using what they're doing is they're relying on failed climate models that over predict warming by 2.5 to 3 times too much, and then they're extrapolating that to make rank speculation of what might happen 30, 50, or 80 years in the future. What I do is I look what's actually happening today, and we don't see this. We don't see what we see with forest fires. We see a decrease and a decline in the number of fires globally, North America, and even in California. The number of fires have declined, and people don't. They just you got to look at the data, and it's just not showing that. And then they just make these bald-faced lies. For example, the Amazon rainforest. They say it's unprecedented. No, it's not. If you look at I've got a commentary that's on my website that I just wrote, and I show the chart from NASA. It shows 2019 fires in the Amazon rainforest are smack dab in the middle of what they've averaged for the last 20 years. They happen every year. Or they just had this UN report on mass extinctions, and I exposed that. They were predicting 1 million extinctions per year. I went and looked at the exact same data. And to get to 1 million extinctions per year, you need 25,000 to 30,000 species going extinct per year. You know what it's been for the last 40 years?
What?
Two. Not 2,000, not 200, 2 per year. Oh, well, yeah, but it's going to increase to 30,000 pretty quick.
You know what, Gregory, that's a really good point. If we were all going to die in 11 years, wouldn't species be going extinct at a faster rate? So you're saying we literally, how many, 2 a year?
2 per year. And they're declining. These are the lies that they thought they were going to get away with it. There was a Senate hearing, and Mark Morano and Patrick Moore went there, and they used my data where I exposed this. And the UN guys were just sitting there going, they thought they were going to get away with it. And we use what I like to do is I use science, facts, and data to, again, show how the Earth and humanity are prospering. And because we look back in the rearview mirror of history, what do we see? We see just by every metric, humanity and the Earth are prospering and thriving. We're getting cleaner air, cleaner water, longer lifespans. Food production is greatly outpacing population growth. It's just one thing after another. Yeah. And they look in the future and see nothing but doom, despair, and demise.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. I've heard some conservatives say this. Listen, we are having an impact on the environment. It's just not as bad as you think. Are we negatively impacting the environment?
We have in the past. I think that we're, and it's kind of nuanced, the response there, but of course we have an impact. I think the Earth is actually much improved today than it's been in over 100 years. I see what was going on in just about every category as being a big improvement.
Give me an example, because you say we're actually, I'd love to tell a liberal that, like, hey, we're being good stewards of the Earth.
Yeah, there's every aspect of air pollution. Go to the EPA website. They have a great site. They're just Google EPA and pollution. They've got a great chart. They're all declining significantly. And the one I like to use is forest fires, because they state categorically that fires are increasing. Yeah. And what I do is I show the data, and I did this, the National Climate Assessment was issued in November, where they stated that. And they lied, they misrepresented data, and they cherry-picked data. What I showed was that even in California, this is CAL FIRE data, that the number of fires in California has declined almost 50% in 30 years, which is crazy. No one knows that. Now, the area burned has increased, but that's a forest management issue, not a climate change global warming issue. Because Sierra Nevada Conservancy says there are 5 to 6 times too many trees per acre. Well, that way when you have a fire, there's more fuel to burn, and plus just think about it. If there are 5 to 6 times too many trees, they're all competing, that many more trees competing for that same scarce moisture in the soils. They're actually exacerbating the aridity of the soil and leading to larger and more intense fires.
See, I need these facts, Gregory. I need to know your.
Well, then I've got a solution. I've got a solution for you. I have a smartphone app that's wonderful. It's got all 60 inconvenient facts that you can have in the phone.
How do I download this?
App Store, Google Play. Just search for inconvenient facts, and it should come right up. We're approaching 50,000 downloads.
Nice.
People love it. People love it.
Inconvenient
and
facts.
It's powerful tool.
Got it. Real quick before I let you go, we got about 3 minutes left here. We just dove in and caught the end of crazy Biden there, and he had talked about, listen, I'm going to call up China essentially, and they're going to listen to me, and they're going to cut down on their carbon emissions. This has got to be the dumbest thing. All these candidates think it's as easy as that. You're going to call China and you're going to tell them something, and they're going to do it.
Right. Well, he made that point several times that we're only 15% of the world's so-called problem. Well, he's right about that. Do you know, and again, on my smartphone app, I've got this. I look at what would happen if we reduced 100% of our carbon dioxide emissions. And I used their own calculations to calculate how much temperature rise would be averted. And the amount of temperature rise from the United States is 0.07 of a degree Fahrenheit by the year 2050. If we reduced 100% of our CO2 emissions, that's how much temperature rise would be averted. How many jobs lost is that worth? I'd say 0.
Amen to that. Amen to that. You know what? Our board op just downloaded it. Let me put it up on the screen for our viewers here, and especially on television. The app is Inconvenient Facts, and literally just like spell it, Inconvenient Facts. I have it on the screen for you. It's got the 10 inconvenient facts, and let me tell you this right now. You're definitely going to want to know this, because I guarantee you're going to have someone maybe tomorrow at work comes in, says, "Oh my goodness, did you watch the 7 hours that are the 7-hour unprecedented event on CNN?" You got to have some inconvenient facts to share with them. Now, the title of your book is Inconvenient Facts. I just took it off here. The science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know about. How is Al Gore doing these days?
Oh, he's fat and happy. I think he might have bought another seaside oceanfront mansion. I'm not sure, though. He seems to like those. And Obama did too. You know, so,
but let me tell you now, Gregory, they can fly privately. You and I can't. Well, I can't afford it, but they can fly. They can fly privately, but not and nobody else. They want everybody. They want you to change your transportation, but not them, right?
Exactly.
Oh man, that's horrible.
Just for not for thee, but just for me.
There you go. I like that. Gregory Wrightstone, the author of Inconvenient Facts. You said you had a website. What's the website?
Inconvenientfacts.xyz. Great stuff there. Go to the videos and look at the video on the relationship between witch hunts and climate change. It's fascinating.
Okay, one more time. Inconvenient Facts, XYZ.
.xyz.
Inconvenient Facts with an S, XYZ.com.
Yep.
Just
.xyz.
Oh, .xyz. My bad, not .com. All right, sounds good.
That's all right.
All right, sounds good. Gregory Wrightstone, appreciate you having. Now, listen, he pieced out already. He was like, "All right, Guillermo, I'm out of here." We appreciate Gregory Wrightstone. Listen, he had to get back because Bernie Sanders is now on. Yeah, Bernie Sanders, folks. He's on right now. He's probably going to tell us how bad the corporations, billionaires, their mansions. I'm not going to talk about his mansion. When we come back, much more of the 7-hour unprecedented event. We got Julian Castro. He wants to make sure that, I'll tell you what he wants to do with the schools. All right? he might want to utilize the schools to help with climate change. Yeah, we'll have it for you. We come back here on the Guillermo Moreno Show. Thank you to Gregory Wrightstone. Again, that's Inconvenient Facts. Go get the book. Download the app. We'll be right back. All right, folks. As promised, here is Bernie Sanders.
As well. Fourthly, our program will create up to 20 million good-paying jobs over the period of the 15 years. And when we do that, you're going to have a lot of taxpayers out there who will be paying more in taxes. You'll have people who are not getting food stamps and so forth. So those are the basic ways that we pay for this program. But most importantly, we are dealing with what the scientists call an existential threat to this planet. And we must respond aggressively. We must listen to the scientists. That is what our plan does.
I think there's folks out who just heard you talk about higher taxes and taxpayers out there paying more. Would you guarantee to the American public tonight that the responsibility for $16.3 trillion, which is a massive amount of money, wouldn't end up on taxpayers' shoulders?
Well, it'll end up on some taxpayers' shoulders. If you are in the fossil fuel industry, you're going to be paying more in taxes, that's for sure. Yeah. And I happen to believe in general that at a time when we have massive levels of income and wealth inequality, where the richest 3 people in this country own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, where major profitable corporations like Amazon, who made over $10 billion in profits last year, didn't pay a nickel in taxes, am I going to guarantee Jeff Bezos he's not going to be paying more in taxes? No, I won't.
I want you to meet Justine Burfond, is it?
Burfond, yeah.
Good. Justine Burfond from Brooklyn. She's a student at New York University, a volunteer with the Sunrise Movement, which is a youth climate group. Justine, welcome.
Hi, Senator Sanders. It's really nice to meet you. My family has lived in southern Brooklyn for 4 generations. In 2012, I witnessed Hurricane Sandy ravage this area. You have wavered at times in your stance on eliminating the filibuster. How do you intend to implement the climate policy we need to prevent climate disasters like Sandy if bad actors like Senator Mitch McConnell intend to use the filibuster to block climate legislation?
No, I haven't wavered. What I believe is the Senate should not be the House, and we shouldn't simply have a majority body. But what I have said repeatedly is we need major filibuster reform. And second of all, just as Bush got through major tax breaks for the rich through the Budget Reconciliation Act, we can do that as well. So if your question is, and we're going to need 60 votes to save the planet, the answer is no, we will not. There are ways to get that to the Budget Reconciliation Act, which will require 51 votes. And that's the method we will use. Okay?
I want you to meet Mark Alessi. He's a graduate student.
In the years to come.
Alessi is a graduate student studying climate science at Cornell University. Currently supports Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Thank you, Senator Sanders.
California.
In your Green New Deal plan, you argue that nuclear energy is, quote, a false solution to the climate crisis. However, going forward, we will need every tiny contribution from all renewable energy sources, especially since nuclear energy production doesn't depend on the time of day or the current weather conditions. How can you dismiss this technology when it will be necessary in any drastic switch in our country's energy infrastructure?
Thank you, Mark. Well, here's the answer. Mark, we got a heck of a lot of nuclear waste, which, as you know, is going to stay around this planet for many, many, many thousands of years. And you know what? We don't know how to get rid of it right now. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to add more dangerous waste to this country and to the world when we don't know how to get rid of what we have right now. Number 2, in terms of cost, the truth is that it costs a lot more to build a new nuclear power plant today than it does to go to solar or to go to wind. So I think
that is the old man himself. Well, which old man, right? There's like a bajillion of them now in the Democrat field. That was Bernie Sanders himself. The real Latino, all right, the real Latino, because there's a fake one in the race. That's Beto O'Rourke. Robert Francis, luck of the Irish. Luck of the Irish O'Rourke. Looks like a... No, I'm not going to say it. I don't want to comment on the way people look. Kind of reminds me of the Lucky Charms guy, but I'm not going to say that. I won't say it. All right? I'm going to be like Trump. Listen, Julian Castro, the real Latino, all right? He was up at bat. I think he was the first guy in this marathon, which we are now in 4 or 5 hours. They still haven't convinced more than 2 people. Again, you know what? I gotta step back. I appreciate Gregory Wright Stone, the author of Inconvenient Facts. He also has an Inconvenient Facts app. All right, download it. It'll have it. Listen, this is how you argue with the liberals. All right, and I love the information that he had. So go. This is Julian Castro. And listen to what Julian Castro tells Gianna Lum. She is a climate activist. All right, here we go. This is from hour 1 of the unprecedented CNN town hall.
We meet those climate goals in the years to come. And that's what I'm asking the American people to do.
You talk about the next generation. I want to go to Gianna Lum, who is from Hillsborough, California. She's the associate director of the student climate nonprofit called Climatepedia and a graduate student at Columbia University studying climate change. Gianna?
Our beliefs and habits start at an early age. Should climate change be taught in schools? And if so, how should climate education be implemented in the school curriculum?
Wait a minute. Should climate change curriculum? Should we be indoctrinating our young people sooner? Should climate change, folks, be a part of the curriculum? This is what Julian Castro says.
Yes, I believe that it should. In fact, I believe that it's essential if we want to raise a generation of Americans that will, do right by our planet, make the little decisions in life that are going to help ensure that we can get where we need to get to net zero. I think if we're going to get there, though, and this doesn't just apply to curriculum about the environment, it applies to a whole bunch of other stuff, we need to do things like end this system of people that get elected, whether it's in Texas or other states, they get elected and then they sit on a statewide board that determines what is in curriculum. And too oftentimes, right-wing conservatives have taken over these boards in places like Texas, and they affect who gets into the history books. It's slanted view on social studies. It's probably against including any kind of meaningful curriculum on the environment. So there's some structural changes that I believe that we need to make.
Back this climate change train up. He's basically saying, listen. We got to indoctrinate these young kids, damn it. We got to have a climate change class where we tell all the kids that they're going to die. All right. Can you imagine that? These kids can already choose if they want to be a dinosaur, right? If they're going to identify as Super Mario, they can do that. You're now going to tell these kids under your shoddy scientific evidence, you're now going to tell them that they're going to die in 11 years. Talk about confusing the living daylights out of everybody. How stupid is this? Julian Castro, listen, what we really got to do is we really got to start teaching kids about, climate change. And what we got to do is, because all those darn conservatives, I tell you, those conservatives, they are on the school board. They decide what goes in the textbook. Let me tell you this. He talks about Texas, right? Well, he's from Texas. He doesn't know about California, a.k.a. California, a.k.a. not the Golden State. He doesn't realize that Planned Parenthood actually writes the textbooks over here. All right? So what they don't do in Texas, my friend, they do in California. But this is literally how nuts these Democrat candidates are, that they will, in fact, agree to indoctrinating young children on climate change. Folks, this is a new level of dumb that we are about to enter. And these Democrats have no shame. They will literally come after your kids. You get that, right? They will come after your kids. They will feed them whatever narrative they think will advance their cause. That is how desperate now that the left have become. They don't believe that they could actually win adults. They don't believe they can actually have a discourse that will actually resonate with people that are 18 years or older, that they're literally starting to plant the fruits in the young person's mind. They're trying, literally, they can't win. So they're literally looking to the future. That's their game plan, which is kind of stupid because if we only have climate change and we're all going to die in 11 years, we really shouldn't be worried about the future, right? So, which is kind of odd. But anyhow, nonetheless, that's all right. Let's get back to Julian Castro here.
But I do believe that kind of curriculum should be taught in our schools because that's how urgent this crisis is. And we also have a role to play as mothers and fathers, family members too, right? I know that I've encouraged my children to be more environmentally conscious, right? To recycle, for instance, and understand the impact that their actions have on the environment, to teach them about that. I hope that all parents, all families are able to do that. And we should encourage that because all of us have a role to play. Our schools do too.
Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for being here.
Mr. Secretary, you're awesome. You are amazing. We got time for one more. All right, who is this? Is this him? All right, listen. I believe this is the clip. This is Julian Castro again, and this is him basically talking about how he's okay with us being sued. You could sue for a racial, environmental injustice. Let me see if I can get to this quickly.
Good evening. I work as a registered nurse at Interfaith Medical Center in Brooklyn. We are considered a safe net hospital located in a low-income community. Oftentimes, communities like these are the ones who suffer the most from climate change and environmental inequities. What will your administration do to give voice to this issue, also known as environmental racism?
Yeah. All right, thank you very much for the question. Thank you for your work as a registered nurse. We know that this climate crisis is going to affect all Americans and all folks.
Dang it, I'm not going to have time, but he was going to talk about how we can sue for racial injustice. Anyhow, second hour Guillermo Moreno Show. Council member Gary Bredefeld joining me when we come back. All right, folks, we're at a commercial break. I'm going to put on the debate from CNN. Here we go. Or the town hall, the unprecedented town hall.
And the Mexico City Agreement, which denies American aid to those organizations around the world that allow women to have abortions or even get involved in birth control, to me is totally absurd. So I think, especially in poor countries around the world, where women do not necessarily want to have large numbers of babies, and where they can have the opportunity through birth control to control the number of kids they have, something I very, very strongly support.
I want to introduce, our next guest, Grennan Milliken. He's a graduate student at Columbia University studying climate and society. Grennan?
Good evening. In order to successfully mitigate the impacts of climate change in the U.S., the U.S. is realistically going to have to wean itself off of fossil fuel use completely. Unfortunately, this can also mean the loss of jobs. How would you help workers of the fossil fuel industry transition to other respectable fields of work in a future green economy?
Thank you very much for that important question. I consider myself to be perhaps the most pro-worker member of the United States Congress. I think I have a 100% pro-union AFL-CIO voting record, and I've spent my entire life fighting for workers. So let me be very clear, is that the coal miners in this country, the men and women who work on the oil rigs, they are not my enemy. What is my enemy is climate change. And what we have done is built into our plan, our $16 trillion plan, tens and tens of billions of dollars for what we call a just transition. And that says that if some worker, through no fault of his own or her own, loses their job because we're moving away from fossil fuel, we're going to guarantee them an income for 5 years. We're going to guarantee them the education that they need, because those workers are not our enemies. They should not be punished because we're trying to save the planet.
I just want to ask, of all your ambitious plans, free public college, Medicare for all, eliminating student debt,
keep going,
full employment,
yeah,
Green New Deal, every president has to prioritize in terms of what they're going to put. What is the priority on climate change compared to all these others if you have to choose?
Well, I have the radical idea that a sane Congress can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And you know, Anderson, there are so many crises that are out there today. I worry very much that we lose 30,000 people a year because they don't have the money to go to a doctor when they should, and that 87 million people are uninsured or underinsured. And I will implement as president a Medicare for all single-payer program. I am terribly worried that hundreds of thousands of bright kids no longer go to college. Guess they're worried about the debt that they'll incur. We're going to cancel all student debt. So to my mind, it's not prioritizing this over that. It is finally having a government which represents working families and the middle class rather than wealthy campaign contributors. And when you do that, then things fall in place. So you could raise the minimum wage to a living wage. But in terms of this issue, I don't know how any sane person cannot put it at the very, very top of the list. So let me state it again. We are, in my view, not in my view, in the view of the scientists who have studied this issue the most, we are fighting for the survival of the planet Earth, our only planet. How is this not a major priority? It must be a major priority.
Let me ask you. Last month, you tweeted, Donald Trump believes climate change is a hoax. Donald Trump is an idiot. Do you feel...
Did I say that?
Well...
Yeah, I did. You know, my wife thought it wasn't a good idea, but I said...
Well, let me ask you. There's obviously tens of millions of Americans who support Donald Trump and who believe him on climate change. Are they idiots?
No. Look, what you got, Donald Trump is the only president of the United States that we have. And when you have a president who has access to all of the scientific information, who can make a phone call and bring every bloody scientist in the world into his office in a few days' notice, when you have a president of the United States who rejects and turns his back on that science, you know, maybe it was a harsh word, but he has called me worse. So, yeah, I mean, I think it is just idiotic, if you like, that a president takes has that type of approach toward climate change. And again, it is, forget the word idiot, it is so dangerous. It is dangerous. We are the most powerful country on earth. We should be leading the world to a global energy transition, and you have a president who thinks it's not real. That is idiotic.
This is Catherine Duckett. This is Catherine Duckett. She's a climate science professor at Monmouth University, a member of the Long Branch, New Jersey Environmental Commission. Catherine?
Hey, Catherine.
Hello, Professor. I wanted
Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you hearing it out? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. No, it's not going over there. All right, cool. So I'm gonna record. I'm gonna record it right here. All right, sounds good. All right, you grab my door. All right, folks, appreciate you guys sticking on. We're kind of trying to be on live and record at the same time. So the local station here is doing a local issue that I did earlier, and now we're going to continue the show. So we're going to go in from right here. So you're getting kind of a behind the scenes how we do it here. If I got to do pretty much different shows on different days. All right, here we go. Here's Joe Biden.
And you think I'm kidding. It's almost not there now. But anyway.
Our next question is from Daniel Sweeney, a student at Columbia Law School. He said he voted for President Trump. He's now disillusioned with the Republican Party, plans to change parties and vote for a Democrat in the next election. Daniel, welcome.
China is currently the largest emitter of CO2. How, if at all, would you try to get China to lower its emissions as president?
I would make it real clear. That's why we have to bring around the rest of the world. We have to reconfigure what's going on. When we did the Paris Accord that they signed on to, it was agreed that we would constantly up the ante. The nations would agree to, contingent upon what the science dictated and the extent of the problem. We have to up the ante, what's going on. Number one. Number two, any nation that doesn't do that, for example, what China is doing, they're exporting coal technology. They're building coal plants on their Belt and Road area. They're moving in a way that they're in fact making the environment much, much worse. They, in fact, have increased, I think, 4.5%. They have increased the emissions from China. And so there has to be a price that they pay if they do that. And that's why I would talk about dealing with how we deal with them in terms of tariffs relating to their products that are being sold, if in fact they are involved in continuing to export this.
All right, that's Joe Biden. He was up probably about a good 20 minutes ago. Right now, you got Crazy Bernie up there right now. Of course, he didn't comb his hair. His hair looks like Hurricane Dorian hit his hair, literally. Listen, the unprecedented, all right, the unprecedented 7 hours of town hall discussion on Hurricane Dorian is going on as we speak. All right, it's Wolf Blitzer called it unprecedented. What you just heard there is you just heard Joe Biden pretty much say, listen, we're going to tell China what to do because China listens to the United States, right? We see that right now that they literally want to make a deal on trade. You know, they're not listening. They don't care. They don't care. They're not going to clean up the environment. We had on Gregory Wrightstone. All right. He's the author of Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore does not want you to know about. We just had him on the show. And he had said, Guillermo, the United States contributes to about 15% to the, global emissions or whatever it is, CO2. I don't care. I don't know what the heck we throw out. All right. But that really puts everyone in bent up shape. But he said it's 15%. If the United States even did this, it would literally not move the needle in any significant amount. So the student from Columbia there eloquently asked Joe Biden, hey, listen, I voted for Trump. I'm being disillusioned, which you got to wonder if the guy actually voted for Trump or not, because I don't know what policy of Trump, besides maybe his Twitter feed and the way he talks, he just offends you. But he's a Columbia Law student. He's a student. I'm sure he's been indoctrinated since the 2016 election. But he said, hey, what about China? Oh, yeah, don't worry. We got China. Don't worry. We'll take care of China. So the Democrats are asking us to elect them because they're going to be the saviors. They're going to solve this in 11 years. They're going to deal with China. And the Americans are going to have to change their way of life. We're going to literally have to start taking high-speed rail, which Joe Biden mentioned, like, hey, high-speed rail, right? We're going to have 500,000 charging stations. So they're going to get you an electric car as well. The Americans, you and I, the American public, we are going to have to change the way we live. All right? And the entire world is not going to do it. That's the deal. Because they're not going to get them all to agree. Well, Guillermo, technically, the Paris Climate Accord, they were all in agreement. Yeah, you want to know about that Paris Climate Accord, which I'm glad the president has pulled us out of? China is considered a third world country because it's so archaic. Not the Paris Climate Accord, but the underlying documents. And Gregory Wrightstone, I think I had him on about 2 months ago, and he talked about this. He goes, they're still classified like a third world country, for intents and purposes. They're like a developing nation. So they actually get to pollute a heck of a lot more. So I like how, and Joe Biden tried to explain that in there, saying, hey, listen, we're going to bring China in. China's going to kind of, change they're not changing their ways. The American politicians want to change your way of life because they're believing in some junk science. Literally junk science. But I like it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love it. I love CNN doing 7 hours of this because it is 7 hours they're dedicating to a losing issue. An issue that the majority of the American electorate doesn't give a you-know-what about. You know that, right? Because if we did, we would actually, listen, I would actually be seeing some more evidence, right? So the smoking gun is what we'd be seeing. But the reality is you don't. That's the reality. All you see is a bunch of people pontificating on a bunch of junk science. This is what NPR, this isn't the NPR. I got the colors mixed up. This is the New York Times, all right? This is what the New York Times is saying. The town hall style forum on CNN is a response. It's a response to primary voters' intense interest in the subject and follows a discussion. Yeah, they're so intent. And then as we go here, over the past year, multiple scientific reports have concluded that climate change has already led to dangerous outcomes. And they go on to say that they pretty much say, look, everybody wants to hear this. Jeff Nesbitt, executive director of the Climate Nexus, a group focused on communicating the climate threat, said the forum reflected pent-up demand by a portion of the Democratic base to see global warming discussed in depth. Listen, everyone's bought into this entire stupid notion that this is what voters care about. This is what voters want to talk about. I can't wait for the ratings to be out on this because you want to know why? The ratings are going to be laughable. We're going to find out how many Americans truly cared about this, and it's going to be a scarce few. You want to know how insignificant climate change is to the party? Oh, Guillermo, it's not because everyone's talking about it. You got all the candidates out there, right? This is how insignificant climate change is to the Democrat Party. The fact that the DNC, the Democrat National Committee, did not want to be a part of this. They pulled out. Not going to happen. We're not going to do it. Why do you think the DNC, the Democrat National Committee, pulled out of this? I've talked about it before. A, because they don't believe in the science. And B, because they know this isn't what's going to take them to the White House. They know that telling the American people that they have to change their way of life to save the world under their stats and figures ain't going to work. They know that. And that's why the DNC was like, we're good. We're not going to sanction this as a debate. And this is where it was. The Democratic National Committee, a decision by the Democratic National Committee not to sanction a debate devoted to global warming, frustrated activists, and some candidates. So the DNC literally wanted to have a debate at one point in time. And then said, you know what? We're not going to sanction a debate. It's just not going to happen. We're just not going to do it. And folks, they're not going to do it because it's a bunch of hogwash. That's the reality. This is our reality. This is where we're at. So there you heard Joe Biden there at the onset. This is the clip I wanted to play for you here. It is a question asked to Julian Castro. And let me see. He basically asked him about, environmental racism. That's right. Environmental racism. Whatever the heck that is. Here we go. Here's the question.
Faith Medical Center in Brooklyn. We are considered a safe net hospital located in a low-income community. Oftentimes, communities like these are the ones who suffer the most from climate change and environmental inequities. What will your administration do to give voice to this issue?
Hold on. Environmental iniquities. So he's basically saying, hey, poor people, the climate affects poor people a lot worse than anybody else. So up in the hood, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because poor people up in the hood are affected a heck of a lot more than because of climate change.
also known as environmental racism?
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for the question. Thank you for your work as a registered nurse. We know that this climate crisis is going to affect all Americans and all folks around the world. But as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we also know that it's going to hit some people particularly hard. People are the first people to get affected. And after I announced my campaign, the first visit that I made was not to Iowa or to New Hampshire. It was to San Juan, Puerto Rico, to tell the people of the island there that we were with them and that we would make sure that they could recover from Hurricane Maria. When I was there, I went into this neighborhood called La Playita. And I met on the street a gentleman who was 90 years old, who had a can of paint on the ground. He was like rail thin, and he was painting back his property that had been damaged in the hurricane. And I think about that gentleman in La Playita. I think about poor communities along the East Coast. I think about, frankly, I connect the dots to places like Flint, Michigan. And I know that too oftentimes it's people who are poor, communities of color, who take the brunt of storms that are getting more frequent and more powerful. So my plan actually calls for new civil rights legislation.
Here we go. Civil
rights. To be able to address environmental injustice, including making sure that there is a private right of action to go to file lawsuits against polluters. This is the way that it used to be until a Supreme Court case a few years ago. The problem is that when you get administrations like the Trump administration,
oh gosh, this guy's enough. I can't take it.
You can't rely on the government to make a claim.
I turned myself on.
I want to vest that power back in the people.
I'm done with Julian. Don't get this guy away from me. I'm done with this guy. Julian Castro, according to him, the hurricanes, Hurricane Maria, which you talked about, Hurricane Dorian, they affect poor people the most. Poor people are the ones that climate change affects the most. Hence, we're going to have a new civil rights, all right? A new civil rights for those that are poor and that are affected by climate change. And not only are they going to have new civil rights, all right? So I guess the protected class, by the way, it's been quite a while since the Constitution recognized another protected class. So this guy is going to make a protected class. And the protected class is going to be poor people that are affected by the environment, which is now called environmental racism. So I guess Hurricane Dorian and hurricanes are racist? Huh? What? I can't right now. I literally can't. I literally cannot. All right, folks, we got to take a quick break. But when I come back, we're going to talk about how racist hurricanes are, because apparently they only want to affect poor people. Yeah, I'll tell you. All right, we'll come back. I'll tell you all about that here on the Guillermo Moreno Show. 559-442-1680. I see your guys' comments. We'll get to them right now. Well, I'm only doing 7 minutes and 50 left I got on this clock. Yeah, so we're ready? All right, ready to rock and roll? Here we go.
To lead, and
plastic
we can
straws
adapt.
are a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should. Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you're just, like, if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend.
Yes.
And then, the little thing catches it. And then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more.
So you'd ban it, but rely on innovation.
I mean, we got it. Yeah, innovation is a process, right? You don't just do it. Innovation is a process, but let's encourage innovation, and I think we could do a little bit better than.
Oh, I love it. Hey, simple question. Would you ban and outlaw plastic straws? Well, this is Kamala Harris here. You gotta gulp it fast. And then it gets stuck in that thing. This gets stuck in the cap. Listen, I'll be honest with you. You know what I do now? I get so angry. And listen, you tree huggers are about to get mad at Guillermo Moreno, but I really don't care. You know what I do now? When I'm down south, especially when I'm down south and up north, luckily here in the Central Valley, we still got some plastic straws, thank God. When I go to one of these places down south with all the liberals and they give me a paper straw, I grab like 5. All right? Literally, grab 5 because paper straws are only good like 2 sips. And that's it. You got to put in a new one because they get soggy. And then whatever you're drinking starts to taste like cardboard. And you know what I do? I swear I do it. I get the plastic straw and I fling it towards the ocean because it pisses me off so. No, I really don't do that. But it's not going to get stuck in a turtle's nose, remember? So Kamala Harris here can't even answer the question. Hey, sweetheart, are you going to ban plastic straws? She literally had a hard time. And then she's like, well, I guess we got to rely on innovation. Yeah, sweetheart, let me tell you something. That's what Democrats like to do. They like to make a knee-jerk reaction. All we got to do is make everybody do what we tell them to do, and we're going to save the world. And she just admitted it through this one take. Like, you know what? Yeah, the whole straw thing. We kind of didn't have that thought out yet, but let's rely on some ingenuity. We'll figure it out. This should really be the poster snippet for their entire plan on climate change. We got Pocahontas. Should we get it? Everybody's happy at Pocahontas right now. She's electrifying the crowd with Fredo.
Sit around and look what happens if we don't make change. We've got, 11 years, maybe, to reach a point where we've cut our emissions in half. And that's not just America. We're only 20% of the problem. Now, that's a big hunk of the problem. But there's another world out there that's 80% of this problem. So you bet that this is a moment where we better dream big and fight hard, because that's how it is that we're going to make the changes we need to make. Now, part of it is going to be about research and development, you bet. Part of it, we already know how to do. We know how to do offshore wind. We know how to do solar. The question is, are we willing to put the resources into it? And my answer is, yeah, we better be willing to put the resources into it, because the alternative is unthinkable. Life on Earth is at risk. And if we don't make this commitment, we not only cheat our children, we cheat their future and their children's future, and that is morally wrong. We have to be all the way in.
Oh, my gosh. Literally, listen, she just said it. 11 years, and we're done. We're dead. We're hurting our kids, and people are eating it up. They're eating up. They love what she's dishing out. I can't. Folks, I cut in at just the right time. That was Elizabeth Warren there. Now you got this gal. She is an environmental law student. Oh, my gosh. They're training you law kids already on environmental justice. And environmental law has been around for a long time. Just waterway and marine law is pretty darn cool. That's just me being a nerd. But you got Pocahontas there. This is a joke. This is a joke. She doesn't want to talk about the alternative in 11 years because it's unthinkable. You want to know what's kind of funny? Pocahontas has often talked about research, right? We got to research, and we're going to research. Well, you got 11 years to live under your theory, right? You're not going to get elected. We're about another 2, all right? So now that takes us down into 9 years. How long are you going to research, Pocahontas? You're going to research for 2 to 3? Then we're only going to be alive for maybe 7 to 8 years. And then when you get into implementation, now we're looking at 6 to 5. We're going to have enough time before we die? Is there enough research already to tell us that we're going to die? Or we got to do more research, and that's why we got to elect you? You guys get it? It's literally stupid. This is what's going to happen. You're going to have a knee-jerk reaction by everybody, and this is what's going to happen. Let me give you the example of the plastic straw.
And plastic straws are a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Do you ban plastic straws?
Easy question.
I think we should.
Easy question.
Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend. Yes. And then, the little thing catches it. And then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more.
So you'd ban it, but rely on innovation.
I mean, we got it. Yeah, innovation is a process, right? You don't just...
Listen, I can't literally tell you right now how you're going to drink your drink out of a cup because I don't want plastic, but we really don't like the cardboard. I'll figure it out. You elect me. I can't figure out how you're going to be able to drink your drink without your straw plopping over, but I got this whole climate change thing figured out. Don't you worry. I got you. That's Kamala Harris. I don't know how to solve that, but don't worry. I'm going to save the world is what Kamala Harris is. Anyhow, folks, you can't make this stuff up. You literally cannot make this stuff up. This is fantastic. Anyhow, folks, appreciate you guys tuning in. I got about a minute left here. Let's get to some of your comments here. I do not drink out of straws. You have to think, and patients in the hospital that you have to think. We only have 11 years to live, so why am I working? Might as well start partying. Michigan Mike, absolutely. Her voice sounds like she's always fake crying. Pocahontas, absolutely. I'll carry my own straws. I like that. Consuelo, Kamala Harris is nuts. Binky, Kamala Harris is not qualified to be president, and I'm calling her out on it too. Bernie, this is Jolene. Bernie should be worried about ending static electricity. Makes me want to rub a piece and bounce on his head. Oh, my gosh. I love it. Anyhow, folks, I appreciate you guys tuning in to this unprecedented day. This unprecedented day that shows us again that the Democrats are doomed in 2020 because they believe talking about one issue. And you notice it's not even a debate. There's no opposing view at all. Pretty sad. Anyhow, Guillermo Moreno will return tomorrow. The Guillermo Moreno Show. Appreciate you guys here. I'm talking like I'm the third person. Anyhow, you're listening to the New Talk Radio 1680 KGED. See you then. All right, folks. Thank you so much. We'll see you mañana.